Hi, we're back streaming tnoozLIVE TTE. I'm with Evan Konwiser, and he is VP Digital Traveller at American Express Global Business Travel. Thanks for joining us, Evan.
You're welcome.
You've been in the role of Digital Traveller now for about 3 years. Can you tell us kind of how that's evolved to perhaps when you started to now?
Yeah. So when I first joined, it was a few months after the JV creation, where GBT separated from American Express and started to create our own identity. And priority number one was building our long-term product and technology vision as an independent entity, with some of the investment we have from our private equity investors, using some of the ability to kind of start from scratch on some of our product and technology off of our new infrastructure. It was really a greenfield opportunity to look at where the industry was going. And with my partners within our organization and Philippe Charek, we were able to really plan for a multi-year investment in product and technology. And now we're in year 3 of that, of executing on that investment plan. And we paid down a lot of technical debt, as we would say. We've built a foundational technology that will allow us to innovate and be nimble into the future-proof some of our investments. And so today we're in a position where we're now starting to plot the next 3-year investment plan on top of the foundation. And I have to say it's even more exciting because we get to build on top of the fruits of our labor. So I think 3 years ago, we were really figuring out what that foundation needed to look like to future-proof. Today we're thinking about how we use that to take our business from our experience of our travelers, the experience of our clients, and the experience of our travel counselors into the next generation of experience using that foundation.
So it's interesting that you talk about future-proof, because so much happens in 3 years. So is it difficult not to get distracted by the latest, the voice or chatbots or Bitcoin, when you've got this kind of strategy down?
Absolutely. I mean, I think like all companies, we're looking what's out there. We're distilling the trends that we see in the marketplace, and we're certainly prioritizing the things that we think are near-term value creators for our clients and travelers, and the things that we need to keep an eye on and experiment with. But I think the TMC space has traditionally been so slow to innovate because our foundation is so complex, operating in so many countries, so many different platforms of content, so many platforms of tools. You have global clients who have their own solutions and tools. You have third parties solutions, whether OBTs or expense products, et cetera, that you want to integrate with and partner with. And so really, order of business number one was building that foundation. We call it power from the core. You build your core platform foundation that gets all of your data together, and that allows you to innovate. So now when we look at trends that are on the marketplace, we can experiment much faster and easier than we could have 2 to 3 years ago. It used to take us 18 to 24 months to build a POC on a proof of concept on something that might be a little bit out there, and now we can do it in 6 weeks. And I think that's the excitement that we've been able to generate internally within our organization. And as time goes on, especially as we kind of complete that first 3-year roadmap, the distance from getting that in the hands of our clients and travelers is starting to shrink dramatically. And so while it is always intimidating to look at everything that's out there, we're really making progress on bringing some of those things to the forefront much easier.
So culturally then, how hard has it been to get everybody thinking differently, I guess? Don't want to sort of throw out buzzwords, but in a more agile manner. What's that been like?
I think it's absolutely been probably our number one challenge as a company, and not just within product and technology, but across all of Amex GBT globally, from our commercial teams, our supplier teams, our travel counselor teams, operations teams, our product technology teams, to think as an independent entity and be more entrepreneurial. When we first started, we called ourselves the 100-year-old startup. We have a 100-year-old business and business model with a 100-year-old brand, but we're trying to be entrepreneurial in how we approach our new identity. And so that has been the most challenging piece, the most rewarding piece when we get it right. And so trying to shift our development processes to be more agile has been one of our marquee efforts, and is definitely starting to show incredible benefits from that today. We brought in a lot of new blood into the organization too, folks that had been in non-travel technology or leisure travel technology companies, or even our folks that have worked at GDSs that have different types of experience. So it's about bringing together an organization that is unified to a goal and infusing it with some expertise that can help us push in the right direction. Definitely a challenge, but...
Is it frustrating to you in the sense that, you know, business travel and distribution, it is a slow-moving world?
Absolutely. Of course. I mean, you know, as somebody who came to GBT as an entrepreneur...
I was going to say, you came from the startup world,
as a startup world, there's not a day goes by. But I think the way I like to think about it is there are healthy tension and healthy struggles, and then there are unhealthy tension and unhealthy struggles. So a healthy tension is between trying to be entrepreneurial and trying to make sure all your compliance protections and data privacy and GDPR, is all in line. Between trying to move fast and making sure your clients are supportive and on board and managing change with their processes. That's healthy tension, and that's something that we were always going to be battling as a TMC. That's our job, and that's what we have to get really good at. And then there's unhealthy tension, which is just bureaucracy around an organization, too many chefs in the kitchen that is sort of endemic in any large organization that we've had to try and reduce, collaborate better, take down the silos, be more entrepreneurial in how we work internally. And I think we've made incredible progress on the frustrating, unhealthy tension, and I think the healthy tension is something that we have to thrive off of and be the best in the business at, because I think that's where we add the most value, is when we create, when we become the best at understanding knowing when to push and knowing when to slow down and understanding what that product lifecycle and experience lifecycle is like for our clients.
So I remember Greg O'Hara talking about the money that was on the books 2 years ago at Focusrite, I think it was, and him saying, that they would look at acquisitions, and I know you can't say too much on that front, but is that still very much part of the strategy? And can you kind of outline any sort of areas, for example, that you would be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think our M&A strategy is really always focused on two fronts, one on technology and one on agencies. I think we've all seen that we've made some news recently on the agency side, and we've had a couple smaller things as well over the last couple of years, and the team continues to be active on that front. And on the technology side, obviously KDS was our big win in that regard, and has been an incredible contributor to GBT and continues to be an amazing place of innovation and collaboration and source of value for the larger Amex GBT family. And we're always looking at other technology acquisitions as well that we think are accretive to our business. But every time we look at something, it's not just what they have and what they bring, it's also how does it incorporate into what we're trying to accomplish, and how together we can make sure that the sum is greater than each individual. And we're very conscious of the challenges of incorporating new technology into our environment, and while some companies are better off partners, some are better off as acquisitions as part of the family, some are better off as things we want to buy some IP and incorporate. So we're still always looking at the build, buy, partner on everything that we're looking at, and we are absolutely open to buy being an answer, and our teams are committed to supporting those, but they don't come every day.
So just as a final question, I'm sure you're still looking at the travel startup world, and it's very active when it comes to corporate travel right now, and there's a lot of money being, I don't want to say thrown around because that might sound trite, but there is. So are there startups that you find particularly interesting, or is it an element or an avenue that startups are going down that you find particularly interesting, or is there something you could highlight in the travel sort of startup world?
Good question. I think there are definitely some things on the marketplace that are interesting, and I think there are some things that we are in a wait and see. Maybe that's we're in an experimentation mode on, or a proof of concept mode on. I think our attitude is very much build relationships with entrepreneurs and startups, help them navigate the corporate travel ecosystem, and create opportunities to do business with them when it makes sense for our clients or for our business, depending on what they're looking at. So there are a handful of startups out there that we've engaged in various levels, and we'll work with clients to understand. As a former entrepreneur, and hopefully we'll be an entrepreneur one day again, I think the challenge is always trying to do customer development with a startup and hone their value to be really specific for both for either a TMC or our client or the traveler. And entrepreneurs, as they learn corporate travel, you see them sort of move around a little bit to understand where their actual value add is and what their integration points are and how that works. And we like to be a partner with helping them, but that takes time. And so what we see is startups jump on the scene, and it takes usually, I hate to say it, but it takes often years for them to get to the point where they have something that's clicking, that integrates well, that works well, that delivers value for customers. And so, we've seen a few of them that have been in the market now for a year or two that are starting to find their way, and we're looking forward to continuing our collaborations with them. And then there are the greenfield things that are new, and some of them we look at and kind of wonder what direction they're going in, and others I think we can get pretty excited behind, and some we've incorporated into our ecosystem. There's one that we're doing business with right now that we'll talk about, I think soon publicly. That's an area that we think has been underinvested in the industry that we've partnered with and are bringing to market in a significant way. And so we're definitely keen to play in that space.
So you, from your entrepreneurial background, coming into the beast that is American Express Business Travel, what have you learned?
Well, I think I've learned certainly a healthy respect for a large organization and how to work through a large organization. For me, I'm all about impact. I love making impact on the industry. I like helping business travelers have better and easier travel experiences because my passion is in making it easier for people to travel. I think travel is ultimately a force for peace in this world and a force for positive economic value and positive personal value for our travelers. And I think you can do that as an entrepreneur, trying to find ways to create value that is not being done on the marketplace. And there you get to make big change, but it takes a long time to make impact. Or you can be the opposite, which is you can work within an organization that has a lot of clients, a lot of customers, impacts millions of travelers a year, and the engine moves slower, but when you do move, the impact is great. And so I think for me, it's fun to try both sides of that equation. And I think in the big environment at GBT, we have an incredible team. We have the most incredible clients, and getting to work with them on understanding their needs and what makes travel important to them and how they view the value of travel and how we can support their goals of their retention of key employees, of making their employees happier and easier to travel, making sure they're getting the right value for their travel program, supporting them and their professional endeavors, our clients, is really incredibly rewarding. And I think as an entrepreneur, it's difficult to duplicate that kind of hands-on value creation on a daily basis. Certainly, in the span of time that I've had to do it at GBT, and so it's been an incredibly rewarding experience. And I've learned a ton about our industry and about what motivates our clients and our travelers. And it's really fun to now be pushing GBT forward aggressively. And I think we have, and I think we're going to continue to make a big difference in the industry.
Evan, I'd love to be able to talk to you more, but we'll have to leave it there. Thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure.
So we'll be right back, and just to thank our sponsors once again, OTA Insight and CodeGen, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.